Welcome to a special episode of the Mentor's Office podcast, where we dig deeper into the world of job hunting. Today, we are discussing Andy's journey towards finding a new job. It was a path filled with wins, challenges, and invaluable lessons. Whether you're embarking on a career change, entering the job market for the first time, or simply looking for fresh strategies to land your dream job, Andy's experience will resonate with you. Andy will share strategies that proved effective during the job search, including overcoming moments of self-doubt and leveraging the power of networking. We will also dive into tailoring a resume and keeping ahead of industry trends. Furthermore, we will gain insights about options to stay motivated, learn from rejection, and reflect on the journey with wisdom and understanding. And this story is a testimonial to resilience and adaptability. We can't wait to share it with you. Welcome, Andy. Nice to see you again.
Hi, Annie. How are you? Nice to see you.
I'm good. I have missed you. I'm so ready for this new episode and learn from your path during this time.
Right. I think this has been an interesting journey, actually, a long journey. I graduated from my master's degree
Yeah,
at
so
Georgia Tech.
congratulations. Yeah,
Thanks.
amazing.
I finished on August 2022, and I got
Right.
my job I started my new
Yeah,
job
almost
on August
August, right?
2023. So it was a 1 year journey
Yeah,
to get a job. I thought that I was going to get a job a lot
like
earlier
sooner?
after getting a master's degree, but that was not the case.
Okay.
And well, I guess to discuss my learnings, my improvements, my mistakes, what I
Yeah.
failed, and tell the story so maybe
So,
myself in the
Andy,
future can learn, or you, or any other people.
yeah, that's right. And so because, I want to learn about the strategies that you follow. So, what strategies or steps did you find most effective during your job search?
Right. Well, I want to start by explaining a little bit of the resources that helped me a lot.
Okay.
So one good thing was that this time I'm always trying to think about, okay, learning how to learn, how to do this thing. And to do that, I need to learn from the experience of others, people that are really good at this, etc.
Yeah.
And one of the resources, Udacity is actually pretty good at this, at career advice. They have a good career center. And there was one person that used to work with Udacity in these career services and helping students with career success.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
called
Yeah.
Martin McGovern.
Yeah, I remember Morgan. Yes.
So I listened to his podcast that is Career Therapy, and I think it was amazing. And I took many ideas from there to be able to improve my career search. So one of the things that I took from that was the idea of networking, networking with
Okay.
people. And there are many ways to network with people. So it could be networking using the internet. So you could use LinkedIn, for example, or you could use email. But also you can use going to networking events in person, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I did both. So that I heard that in one episode that they gave on, or in one talk that he gave in Udacity, and I started to doing that. I started to go through websites. One of the websites that really helped me was Meetup, and the other
Meetup.
was
Okay.
Eventbrite.com.
Okay.
And I just started looking for groups where that were related to business, groups that were related to technology. That was the field that I was looking for,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how the journey started. So I started going with Meetup. I started going to conferences. And I went to the first conference that I think that I went during that time, trying to test out that new strategy, was a conference with AWS. So it was a big AWS summit here in Bogota. I
Yeah,
went,
that was cool.
right, and I met, I think, two people, and I exchanged the LinkedIn. So I always think that when you try to go to these events, first, if you are not very experienced, you know, don't be so hard on yourself and try to set like the correct expectations.
Right. Yeah.
So if you're just beginning and you're not really good at networking, at least starting to go, that's a good first step.
And
The
so the
next,
question is, did you go alone?
I went alone, and the idea
Mm-hmm.
was to go by myself because that way I was going to be forced to meeting people. Because one of the
Okay.
that's a really good point that you just made, because one of
Yeah.
the biggest mistakes that people do is that they go with a friend or something that they know, because maybe they're afraid
Yeah.
of talking with others. And if you go with a friend, you're just going to stay with your friend the whole night, you're never going to meet anyone. So it's going to be 10 times harder, right,
Right.
to meet
Yeah.
people. But if you are by yourself, you know, you have to, you're gonna push yourself, you're gonna put yourself in that situation, right? It's like more or
Yeah.
less what Cortez, the guy that conquered Mexico, I don't know if you know this story, but he decided to uh, basically to make his ships useless so that
Okay.
no one could return to Spain, you know.
Okay.
So it was, or you go and conquer Mexico or you die. So
Okay.
this is a similar strategy. You know, you have to go by yourself. So or you go and meet people, or or you go meet people. That's the only thing. So there's no like
Right, but you can just so the idea here is you can meet people, but so they're not necessarily going to help you.
that's correct. So as I was mentioning, maybe the first conference you will go and won't know anyone, right?
Right.
But at least a good first step is getting comfortable going to conferences, right? Because sometimes you have to, the first step is defeating that how do you say, that feeling of, feeling bored of going, of
Right,
procrastinating,
or
let's say like that.
or maybe you're shy or you don't want to go, right?
Exactly. So that's the
Mm-hmm.
first good step that you need, and is like, defeating that barrier of, saying, oh no, I don't want to go there, I want to go and watch a movie, I want, like
Yeah.
that's the first thing that you need to train yourself, and the only way that you're going to do that is to going at least 1 or 2 times per month to an event. That's going to
Okay.
help you.
Okay.
The next thing that I was thinking is, okay, I need to talk to people, and to so I set myself like a goal of, okay, I'm going to talk to at least 2 people or 3 people in this event and get their LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
In that event, I just talked to one person, I think.
Okay.
But it was something, that's how you start, okay, one person I started, and you know how I met that person.
All right. And so how did you get the LinkedIn, for example? Wasn't it too invasive?
Okay, but how do you think that I met this person? What strategy did I use?
So you were probably approaching the person and said hi and introduced yourself, and you said that you are a software engineer and you graduated, and so that because you said that you were at the AWS conference, you were probably talking about the product as well or like the services.
Yeah,
So I feel like
so
that would be a good strategy. I
yeah,
don't
that's a good
know.
strategy, but
Yeah.
how do you do that first approach? Because it's not that easy, right? So
Right.
are you gonna go to the, I don't know, just was one person walking and you're just gonna talk to that person, or you're going up the stairs and you're gonna talk to that person. So one good strategy that I used is, okay, it's lunchtime, right? So I
Lunch.
tried
Okay,
to
so
look
like
for,
breaks. Hmm.
yeah, of the break or the lunchtime. So
Okay.
I said, I'm going to look for a table to sit. And
Yeah.
the table that I looked for is, okay, let's try to look for a table with just one person, because that's
Okay.
the easiest thing, right? Because going and joining a whole group, that's harder, trying to talk with a whole group. But talking to one person is the easiest challenge, right?
Right.
So I did that, and I said, and it was not that weird because I needed to sit, right? It was not like I was
Yeah.
stalking and
Yeah.
following
So
that
you're.
person
Yeah.
through the conference.
Right.
So I did that, and yeah, just started to work, and trying to lose that fear. And the only way to lose that fear of talking is just jump. It's when you have, that pool, you're getting into that pool that is just really cold, right?
Okay.
You
Yeah.
just you have to throw yourself. You just if you try to do it slowly, and you think about it, you're never gonna get inside that pool. So I just threw myself, and I said like, "Hey, how are you?" And that's it. I started that, and I presented myself, and we started
Okay.
to talk. And I asked for the LinkedIn, and we started to
Okay.
talk about different topics.
Hmm.
But
Okay.
that was my first experience, and I started to do that. And then in Meetup, I found a community. So in Bogota, there are some really interesting communities. There's one community that's called PMBers, so it's for
Okay.
product managers, and different big startups and big companies host the event. So the
Okay.
first time that I did it, I went to a company called Leal.
Okay.
There's a tech company, and I went there. I really didn't know what to expect. Right? It could be a disaster. It could be interesting. I didn't know,
Okay.
but they just posted that the link in there, and I just subscribed in Meetup and went, and it went really well, actually. So I arrived, and the first thing was, again, a really similar strategy. Try to find a person that is just alone, and
Right.
that's
Right.
the
Yeah.
easiest task. And that's it. Just go to that person and say hi. That's it. Say hi, and
All
then
right.
try
So
to
just to
talk.
make it like clear, so our audience can understand these platforms. So you mentioned that one, it was eventbrite.com.
Hmm.
And the next one that you mentioned was, can you share the platforms that you used?
Hmm.
What were the names?
The names of the platforms:
Yeah.
meetup.com and eventbrite.com.
Okay. 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 That's good. All right. And so when you faced moments of doubt, right? But not only on networking or going to events, because I feel like, you said that you were attending several conferences and events and joining different groups and communities. But do you felt at some point that it was just a waste of time?
Well, the first challenge that I faced, or the first moment of doubt, was that it had been like 2 months in the job search. Like, I graduated,
Yeah.
and I said, okay, I have a master's degree from a really important university in the United States.
Yeah.
I'm going to get a job easily, right? That's what
Right.
I thought. It wasn't like that. So
Okay.
after 2 months, I think that I applied to a lot of jobs using websites, right? Like job
Yeah.
postings in LinkedIn, and also applying through different websites of companies.
Yeah.
And I didn't had one single interview.
Interview.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I started in those moments, like it felt hard, right?
Right.
Like I thought, okay, this is gonna take longer than I thought.
Yeah.
But what I thought is, okay, I need to start improving. I need to start learning how to do this, right? because okay, I
Hmm.
listened to the podcast of Martin,
Yeah.
but I'm not applying most of his advice, right? I
Right.
wasn't networking. Though during those 2 months, I didn't network, to be honest.
Right.
So I decided, okay, what's as Einstein says, like stupidity is doing the same thing always and expecting different results. So I said,
Correct.
okay, something needs to change, and I started to looking for books, looking for podcasts, looking for different things, trying to learn about career success and the job search. And that's when I started, okay, this is not working. So the first change, and I had a journal for I call it career journal, and I basically
Okay.
there I just wrote down
You
what were the
wrote right.
challenges, what I was doing right, what problems that I had, and how was I was going to improve. And I put like a few metrics to measure. So I said, okay, I'm just applying like to 2 or 3 jobs per week. That is too low. Okay, let's
So
change
maybe
that
you should
variable.
apply a
I
little.
like that
Okay.
to double or triple that. Okay,
Okay.
so I tried that. I tried to double or triple the amount of of jobs that I applied using websites, and it wasn't helping. So I decided, okay, let's try another thing that I learned from Martin McGovern, and I started going to conferences. So went to the AWS conference, then I went to a blockchain conference, and as you said, those conferences didn't pay off right away,
Initially. Right.
but I maintained. I said, okay, and this I learned from Fred Kaufman, that
Okay.
was the VP of Executive Development at LinkedIn, and now has his own business called I think it's Conscious Business,
Okay.
the name of his business of his company. And he said, like, you have to think like a tiger, right? So
Hmm.
a tiger assumes the responsibility, and sheep just blame everything on others. So for example, when I don't get a if I was not getting a job, I could say I could think like a sheep, and a sheep says, okay, companies are making a lot of mistakes, not hiring me. Why it is so hard? Why they're so stupid at not hiring a guy with a master's degree? And that would
Okay.
be how a sheep would think, right? And
Right.
if but in that case, the sheep couldn't do anything. I couldn't do anything because if uh, it was the company's fault, the companies that I was applying fault, the fault from them. I couldn't do anything because I cannot change a big company, right? I cannot
Yeah.
change the minds of recruiters. So that guy said, you need to think like a tiger. And a tiger would not blame the others, but try to take responsibility and think, okay, I'm doing something that's not working. What can I do to improve the situation? Stop thinking about the others and on how the others are making mistakes, but try to think about what you're doing wrong and try
Yeah.
to assume that. So I
Yeah.
said, okay,
That's good advice.
yeah. And I said, okay, yeah, I have to stop thinking that I have a master's and that's gonna be enough. Maybe that's not enough. And I need to do more things to convince these people. And I said, okay,
Yeah.
the first thing that's in my power is going to more conferences. And I started to going to 1 or 2 conferences per month.
Okay.
And I started, okay, and I always with the mind of improving. So, okay, the conferences, I'm not getting anything out of these conferences, right? That's what you think. And the first 2 conferences that I went, to be honest, I'm not in contact with with the people that I
That
made
you met, right?
connections or
Hmm.
connected via LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I need to do more. O sea, if I connected with 2 people, I need to connect with 5 people on the next
Yeah.
meeting. Okay, I need to improve. So I started to do that, and I'm starting to raise my goals. Okay, maybe I'm doing this wrong and I need to increase to 5. That's in my control. I can increase the number of people to 5.
Okay.
And I started going to these PM beers, and I started to to make that effort to meet more people. And I met one person that she
Okay.
worked for a company called, well, I don't remember, but it's a consulting company, tech consulting company.
Okay.
And she said, "Oh, you're looking for a job," because in my LinkedIn, it appeared that picture with the name that it's like open to work or something. And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And he's okay. If you want, I can help you. And she helped me she referred me internally in the company. She told me, okay, look for a job and I can refer you. And that's what I did. And I got an interview there,
Okay.
so that after a while of not getting interviews or applying a lot and not getting any reply back,
Yeah.
I got that interview. So I was really happy. And unfortunately, that didn't work out. The reason was that um, I could be good prepared and had a lot of knowledge and a master's degree and a good experience, but I was not performing well at interviews. I was not
Yeah.
doing
Okay.
what they expected, right? Because, and I said, how the what I thought, one thing that I thought is, how could these recruiters not appreciate me if I have a master's, if I work with Udacity, if I create my own company? How can they not see it? How could they not see that I'm really valuable, right?
Yeah.
But again, that was a way of thinking like a ship. I could not change these people's mind, and I
So Andy,
needed to think like a
what were
tiger
the
and take ownership.
mistakes?
Exactly.
So what were the mistakes
The
during the
mistakes.
interviews?
The first mistake that I made was that I wasn't well prepared for the first interviews. Those are, I think I call behavioral interviews. So I said, okay, I'm gonna follow Martin McGovern's advice, and actually, I I paid for his service. He's a career
Right.
coach, and I paid for 1 month, and he helped me to train for those kind of interviews.
Right.
And
So
it
these
really
are the type of questions where you give your elevator pitch, or what else?
exactly the other. Okay, now I was improving in the interviews, and I let's say that the bottleneck was not the first interviews, right? Those behavioral, but I
Right.
was getting this let's rejected on the technical interviews.
Okay.
So I said, okay, let's try to improve in these technical interviews. Let's stop thinking about that you have a master's. Just try to, you cannot change that, but you can change the way you train or prepare for those technical interviews and do what they want. Okay, stop thinking about what's right, what's better, how it should be, but how to pass those interviews. And I started preparing for those technical interviews, and and just trying to look at I paid for trying to look for questions online, tests online, trying to look, there are websites where they say, okay, that for this company, this is how the technical interview works. So I started to study that way.
Right. Did it help?
It helped. It helped,
Okay.
but no, it helped. Uh, I did better and better on the technical interviews,
Yeah.
and after a few failed interviews where I did not pass the technical interview, finally I got my interview with Wiseline.
Yeah.
Actually, you know how I got this job? Because of a meetup. So I went
Yeah.
to a meetup of a community called Apache Spark. It's like
Okay.
data community in Bogota.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I went, and it was an interesting talk. And I met one person called John, and after a while, I talked to them, and during that meeting, I said, okay, let's try to learn, but let's also try to connect. So I remember that I connected with John via LinkedIn, for example,
Right.
and I connected with a lot of other people that work with Wiseline. Some other people didn't work with Wiseline, and I also
Yeah.
thought, okay, I want to, like, let's say, stand out of the crowd. So I said, okay,
Right.
these guys are giving this little talk, so I'm gonna ask questions so they notice me, right?
Okay.
So asking questions, being interested, and one way to show interested and that they notice you, that you're there, is by asking questions in conferences. So I think uh, that helped me to stand out with John. And after a while, I waited. After a while, like after 2 or 3 months, I had been looking at their website, and I found some jobs, but they weren't the right fit. Like, they asked too much experience compared to what I had, or
Right.
another field. So I decided to wait, like 2 or 3 months. I didn't found any job postings that I said, okay, I'm a good fit for this one. And 3 months after, I found it, and I applied, and I said to John, hey, I'm applying to this one. Do you have any advice? And he said, he said, yeah, I have some advice, but I can also refer during the recruiting process. And again, I prepared really well for the behavioral interview. Then I prepared well for the technical interview. I dedicated a lot of time to prepare for the technical interview,
Okay.
and the rest is history. And I got the job.
Oh, that's great. So congratulations. So how do you feel right now?
I feel good. As I say, it was a
Was it
really long
was it
journey.
was it worth it?
Was it worth it? So, to be honest, everyone wants to get a job quicker, right? I can say that,
Right.
oh, okay, it was so cool that I took 1 year to get a job.
Right.
No, but the good thing is that I was able to get a good job, a really good job, in 1 year. It could be longer, right?
Right.
If I didn't improve, if I didn't look for things to learn, to generate opportunities. Because one thing that I want to tell you, that I learned, one lesson learned, is
Yeah.
that talent is not enough. You can be really good, you can be really smart, hardworking, that you can know how to work smart, but that's not enough.
So
There are
Andy, when
two
you
things for
say,
career success that are needed. One is
okay,
talent, but the other thing is your ability to create opportunities. If you don't create any opportunities, your talent is going to waste, and no one's gonna give you the opportunity to shine.
all right, Andy. So when you speak about opportunities, can you describe a time when feedback or rejection from a potential employer turned out to be a blessing in disguise?
Well, Annie, this whole process, as I tell you, I did a lot of interviews,
Right.
and I got rejected many times.
And so these
And
rejections,
I've
were they like verbal rejections or were
no
they like
verbal, no,
you?
but like,
Okay.
there were
Emails,
rejections when
right?
I didn't got the job, right? But I got the
Yeah.
email like, thank you for participating, but you were not selected, right? Or something.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a blessing, let's say like that, because I decided to learn from that. Because you
Mm-hmm.
can have two attitudes. That was not good. Obviously, it's not good that you get rejected. But you can do two things, or you can cry and not do anything, or you can try to improve and learn from that. And that was a really important lesson for me. So try to, and that's why I always try to, after each interview, trying to learn, okay, did I do well? Which questions did I couldn't which questions I couldn't answer, right?
Right.
Or in which part of the which part of the selection process did I fail, right? So as I
Right.
mentioned, I started to not do well in behavioral interviews, and then the problem was that I was not doing well
At the technical
in
interview.
the technical interviews. And another problem that I had, that was uh, something that was a problem that I was able to learn from that problem, and really I feel really good about it. That was, I wasn't getting a lot of interviews. I was applying to, I don't know, five
Many,
or
right,
8 jobs a week using LinkedIn and my university's website, etc. But I wasn't getting any interviews, and it was, well, that was frustrating.
frustrated. Yeah,
So that, I said, okay, so I need to change something, and that's where I discovered the going to networking events and communities. And that's something
yeah,
that I'm not gonna stop doing. Even now that I have a job, I know that I need to keep doing that, because that's gonna generate a lot of opportunities for me in the future. And that's one thing that I think that I learned, Annie. That is the problem. One of the problems that I one of the mistakes that I made was that I started for looking for opportunities when I needed an opportunity, right? I started to look
right.
for you know I started to generating opportunities just only when I needed to look for a job, and
Yeah,
that was
and
a
so
mistake.
we have to do it all the
I needed
time.
to start looking for opportunities a long time before I needed a job, and that would
Okay,
have saved me a lot of time.
yeah. So looking back, this is your advice. So if you were to think differently during this job search process, so this is the one thing that you do differently. You would create opportunities all the time, regardless of your job hunting process.
Yeah, it's like in everything right now. I had a really good quote, but I can't remember it. But it applies to different situations, and is that you need to start looking for something or doing something before you actually need it. And that applies to everything, to sales, to your career, when you're looking for a job, when you're trying to apply to a university. Everything, you need to start for looking to look for your opportunities and things when you don't need it, because that way when you actually need it, it's going to be really fast that you get what you want.
So Andy, so this so thank you. This has been valuable. And so when you have mentioned all these strategies and the motivation, some pitfalls that you struggled with, uh, we all know what you did to get motivated and all the stuff that you learned yourself. But what is the best advice you received during this period that you like to pass on to others in a similar situation, whether you had an advice from your parents or a friend or, fellow mentors? So, what's the best advice that you received?
Well, the best advice that I had wasn't from my family, wasn't from a friend. It was from Fred Kaufman.
Okay,
As I
so
mentioned, the thing
it's something, yeah.
of of taking responsibility and ownership, and changing my mindset. Like, I think that was key. That was key.
Okay,
And
yeah,
that thing of thinking, how can you improve? You can always, like, how can you improve? But also always thinking about, okay, let's start thinking of a tiger. Let's stop blaming others and try to think, okay, I'm doing something wrong. I cannot change others, but I can change myself and what I do.
right.
So what can I
Yeah,
change in myself? And always trying to experiment and change until you find something that works. Because sometimes I did some things that didn't work, and then I did some things that worked. So, for example,
yeah,
for looking for when looking for a job, it was a lot easier to look for a job using communities that had their own WhatsApp group, for example, because usually if they have WhatsApp groups, they share positions in the group, and it is easier than going to a conference where people just go once a year. There's no WhatsApp group, so you cannot follow up or stay in contact. So that's, for example, one thing. So my best advice is be a tiger, not a sheep,
Right.
and try to think from your perspective. And let me give you one example that Fred Kaufman gave, and is many people. What excuses have you heard when people, I don't know, arrive late to a meeting or to a party? Let's say like that.
Traffic.
What's
I don't
something some often
know.
excuse like so what excuses do you listen to often?
I guess it would be traffic or,
Traffic, right?
yeah.
Exactly. That's one. The traffic. And can you change traffic?
No, but you take the necessary steps.
Right, but can you change traffic? Can you change can you create another highway right there? Can you
Right, you
tell other
cannot.
people not to go there,
Yeah,
right?
you cannot.
You cannot. That's something you cannot change. Okay, so instead of saying it was traffic, like if it was the traffic's fault, and like if someone made you to go at that hour, right? You could
Right.
you need to change your language and the way you think, and stop saying, "Oh, sorry, Annie, I could not make it on time because the traffic. It was the traffic's fault." You have to say, "Sorry, Annie, I decided to not to leave my house too early. The next time I will try to, go like try to go to the event 30 minutes earlier."
Yeah, and one thing that you didn't mention, and it was very interesting to me as your friend, I knew that you were also you were doing Toastmasters. The idea for you to, get comfortable with public speaking or just speaking with someone through Toastmasters, it was very interesting. So did it help?
Well, I went with Toastmasters, to be honest. That's why I think that things happen not when like you plan it.
Yeah.
Things never happen like you plan, but you have to
Okay.
start generating opportunities. And after a while, things are gonna happen. You don't know what, but things are gonna happen. So I decided to go to Toastmasters, not for looking, no, not because I thought that I was gonna look for a job using that.
Right.
I didn't actually think, and actually, it was before I started going to networking events. I didn't think as Toastmasters as a networking event. So
Okay.
I didn't have
Yeah.
that mindset of, okay, networking is gonna help me find a job. So I
Yeah,
said,
but you said
okay,
that
I
it
need
wasn't
to.
okay.
What I thought is I need to improve public speaking,
Yeah,
because I
that's
want
the
to
one.
improve
Yeah.
in public speaking. I need that. That is gonna help me to make more friends, but also to feel more comfortable in my podcast and at work, for example. So I started going there, and what it helped me a lot on losing, let's say that, not being scared of talking to other people, and to losing that fear of introducing to your like to talk to someone that you don't know, right?
Right, to introduce
Someone
yourself
that's
to
just
right.
studying, like sitting right next to you, just talking. So even if I didn't plan that, it helped me to develop those skills that were necessary, that are really necessary for networking, and networking for finding career opportunities. The first one is the first skill that you need is the skill of introducing yourself, right? And being able to
Yeah.
talk with any stranger, right? That's not easy, and the only way to lose that fear is by doing it. So at first,
Yeah.
I was really scared, to be honest. But after I done it like 10 times, like it became a lot easier, to be honest.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, so that's very cool, Andy. So,
And like the
first
other
of
thing
all,
is that
yeah,
going to Toastmasters helped me to defeat that mind of procrastination, because like I wanted to go to networking events, to conferences, but
yeah,
I didn't go, just because I always find an excuse, right? Like, oh, no, I don't feel like going
yeah,
today, whatever. And that going just to Toastmasters really helped me to build the inertia, right?
Yeah. So, Andy, some final questions before we wrap this up. I just want to know the importance, and was it important really to tailor your resume to stand out? Do you think it was important? Do you think it was irrelevant? Do you think so? So, what do you think about this?
It is important because
Okay.
that's the first, let's say, the first filter or the first challenge that you need to pass.
Okay. And
If
so,
you don't
with
have
that,
a good,
just a quick question here. Did you follow any formats that you can share later?
sure. So what I used and I found amazing was Udacity's course. It is a course that has no cost for the student, and it's
Right.
called, well, I don't remember it. I'm gonna share it, but it's basically a
Yeah.
course that teaches you how to create a resume and
Okay.
how
That's
to,
good.
and also the course on how to create your LinkedIn profile. I used those
Okay.
two courses to build my resume, and they were amazing. And it basically teaches you to think like a salesperson,
Okay. So
because
you're promoting
basically a
yourself.
resume is a sales paper. A flyer,
Right.
a flyer
Yeah.
that you're gonna use to sell yourself. So you
Yeah.
need to sell value. Many people like to enumerate a lot of things that, for example, yeah, I went to a lot of meetings. I worked with this program. I work in this project, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that they created any value or that they did something that really improved the company. So
Right.
when you want to sell value, and that's how salespeople think, is there are different kinds of value. One kind of value is cutting costs, right? If you're cutting costs to
Right.
your company, to your team, you're creating value. Another way to create value is to increase sales, for example, right? Or to
Okay.
increase one important metric. So, for example, increase the number of users, increase the number of views, those kind of things. And I
Okay.
think that's one thing that I can tell you. And yep, also, as I mentioned, um, Martin McGovern, that. I took uh, like just a 1 month session program with him,
All right.
and he
Yeah.
also helped me to look at my resume. And also he has, when you pay for his service, you get access to a website, and in that website, it's basically a mini course, well, where they teach you about everything. So
Okay.
from how to set your goals, right? Like, what kind of, like, it helps you think through the whole process. Like, what kind of mission do you have? Like, what kind of job do you want to, what kind
Yeah.
of
What
career
What
do
are
you
you
want? What job?
pursuing? Correct.
Exactly.
Yeah.
From that point to, okay, how do you create your resume? How do you
Mm-hmm.
apply to jobs? So in his advice, and that's why I changed the way, and I said, okay, he says, it's a bad idea to think that you're going to get a job just by applying in websites. That's not how it works. Most of jobs happen because of connections.
Someone knows that you're good at it too.
For
Yeah.
connections, exactly, for
Right.
connections. So, for example, I didn't actually knew anyone. No, because sometimes I also got that advice from my family, and it's your friends. Not, they don't have to be your friends. Like John, this person from Wiseline, he wasn't my friend.
Right.
He was a person that I met at a networking event, and he was really nice, and we're colleagues, but it's not that we are friends. Hmm?
Right. Yeah.
So it's about meeting people, and yeah, that course is really good. So if you're struggling, I really advise, for example, that you take his course. You can look at his website. You can Google it. It's Martin McGovern, and you also put
Yeah,
the
we will
words
share it later.
career
So
therapy.
that's a good resource to have and
Exactly.
to keep learning. Yeah.
The other,
So first of all, Andy,
do you want me to
thank
mention
you.
the other resources that I had that I wanted to share, or at the end?
Yeah, we will share it with our audience with the specific links.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
So far it's been so amazing. So congratulations to you that you got a new job, and I feel like you are going to do so great. And thank you for sharing with us these strategies that we will consider for our own journeys. But like you said, it's not a matter of starting to find opportunities at the moment that we're struggling, but instead it's time to always generate these opportunities because we never know when these will come in handy, right? So that's like perfect advice. So as always, I'm looking forward to build opportunities with with next to you, uh, and so let's see what the rest of the year will bring to us.
That's right, Annie. To finish, I don't want to end this episode without mentioning that also reading and listening to the videos and advice from Jordan Peterson was fundamental for my job search. He gave really good
Okay.
advice on how to improve as a person, on how to improve your career. Really amazing advice. So I really recommend you to read his books and to listen to his videos.
All right.
They were really important to me, and I also wanted to mention that. And finally, to end the final lesson, Annie, is that I also had the mindset of a salesman. I I always thought of I started to think about, I'm not an employee. I'm selling my services. And when you start thinking as a salesman and that you are selling something, it changes the way that you do interviews. It changes the way you do your resume, and
Yeah.
it changes everything because you go to a mindset of you are selling value, and
Yeah.
that you and how to sell value to your customer, and see the recruiters, see the companies as customers, and how can you help them. Because one of the common mistakes is that people say, okay, what can the company do for me, right? What can they offer
Right.
me,
Right.
what vacations, etc.
Yeah.
And they don't think, okay, how can I help that company? And if you have that mindset of how can I help them, you're
Yeah.
going to be really valuable for them, and that is going to make you really attractive for companies.
Yeah. So thank you, Andy. Thank you for all the advice. Good luck to you in the next opportunities, and of course, we will talk soon for a new episode.
The same, Annie. Thank you for your time. I'm really glad that we are recording again because it had been a while. And
It had
well,
been a while. We had been busy.
I hope that
Yeah,
you talk to me about your stories about uh, that you
yeah,
are
I
starting
will.
to go
I
to new
will.
networking events, and that you tell me your
Yeah,
stories.
of course, Andy. So
And
see you next
I
time.
just want to remind the audience that uh, I went like to networking event for more than 8 months. So it is not like you go to a networking event 1 month and you get it. Mm-mm. You have to go to
No,
at
it's a
least
constant
a
thing,
lot
like you
of months
explained.
and many, many, many networking events until
Yeah,
something good happens.
right. Yeah. Thank you so much, Andy. So let's wrap it up. Thank you and good luck.
Thank you, Annie. And thank you to the audience. And we see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye, guys.